That's the only thing keeping me motivated, because I know it's something that I I'm told that part of what I'm supposed to do is to share all of this information. And
Mhm.
if I don't share it, where is that going to leave me? It's kind of a selfish motive, I guess, in a certain way, but at the same time, I know that it's important that we're all one. So everybody that's going to be listening to this is seeking for the same stuff that I'm seeking for, and we all need to work together so that we can all find our own truths, and ultimately we all go back to one anyway. So, and it all ties in with the information that I have put in my second book in particular, of how we need to go through. As I said before, I've broken it down into 10 components, and it starts in our desperation and our willingness for change. The majority of the people on this planet, let's face it, we have a belief system based on where we've been born, and we have a religion based on the geographical location of where we've been born. And as we grow and as technology advances and we're able to learn more at a faster rate based on what's really out there in the world, we're going, well, wait a minute, why do I believe that way?
Mhm.
Where is all this coming from? So there's a lot of people with a lot of questions. And as we're seeking, we're realizing that, well, things aren't at all what I've been taught. And when you go into that journey of seeking for who you are inside and what does that mean for the rest of the world, and you see all the things that are going on in the world right now, it's just a reflection of the confusion that everybody has right now. One of the things that I keep getting in my head is that between 2019 and 2020, and by 2021, there is the truth of everything is coming out, and it's coming out really intensely. We're seeing it in our politicians. We're seeing it, I mean, in our family, our friends, and things are not at all what we thought they were. And as that continues, um, where does these higher realms fit into that, of what people are calling the aliens, and all these other entities that are out there in the universe? Where do we fit in with all of that? Well, if we're all one, and as I have known from a very early age, and no one ever taught me this, it's just something I knew, was that there's what I've always called the Godhead, and we all come from that. And we're all out here doing our own expression of our gifts from the Creator. And we all go back to that. And as we're creating and we're expanding out in this dimension, one of the things I did in a earlier video, it's not too long ago, one of the realizations that I received is we keep reaching up for enlightenment when actually we are expanding down out into this dimension. So it's that we are coming from the higher realms into this dimension to expand out into this dimension, and we're bringing the higher realms into this planet. That's the goal. So people are getting that confused with I've got to look upwards for that, when actually, our higher powers are working through us from the higher realms, and we're the channel for that. So our role in that is to keep the channel cleansed so that the proper information can come through, and that we can expand it out into our reality. And it's really hard to look out into the world and try to see that there's a whole other existence out there that we can't even comprehend, that's coming through us, because we're multidimensional. And one of the things that I've been finding is the more that I believe in that and the more that I'm seeking for that, it's coming down into my reality. And I think I've described before of how I see like the flowers glowing this vibrant color, or the trees and things appear as though there's two of them. They're lifting out of each other. And what does that even mean? And I'm seeing these beams of light that are going from people all the way. What does all of this mean? And being in this, what I call the matrix, they're in this matrix, and you can look at it. A lot of people refer it to as like a computer, how we're expanding. And we have like this negative part and this positive part that balances here. And our bodies are the channel for the higher realms to come through so that we can work together to bring forth the higher realms. So how do we do that? Within ourselves. We have to do it within ourselves before we can do it in a unified way. I'm trying to reach out in social media in whichever way that I can to get these messages out there. And I receive them on a daily basis. One of the things that they have me do every day is I do a thought for the day, and I put it on all of social media. And it's what the message is for that day as we move forward. Like today is about the word. Your feelings turn into your thoughts, which turn into the word. And when your intentions mix in that, that is what is heard. Everything comes out in a riddle. I don't know why. But anyway, what I was trying to articulate is that as we're moving forward and the energies are really intense right now. I don't know about you, but I've been really tired. Things are moving at a very fast pace. I've been getting a lot of headaches, a lot of things that my body is trying to adjust to all of this. And I keep being told that it's just eventually our bodies are going to get there. And I'm writing something right now that I'm still trying to process about how the body's changing, that we are going to be, the body is going to go with us in this enlightened form that we're supposed to be going in. And that's really hard for me to comprehend because we're so preoccupied with this whole thing of death. And death is supposed to be the last challenge for us, that we don't have to die. How is that possible? All throughout history, we die. Our body goes back to dust. That's what we've been told. But what I'm channeling right now is telling me different. That, I mean, I'm even finding that, and I love meat. I can't even eat meat right now. I'm like sick at the thought of it. Why is that? They're explaining to me that it has to do with the type of energy that you're putting in your body. Even what you eat makes a difference. And these animals are being killed that are full of fear. And we're eating that. We're eating the meat of the fear that they were in when they died. And if you do eat meat, which is really, it's really hard not to, because everywhere you go, that's what's there. I was taught at a young age I'm supposed to pray for my food. I was like, what does that even mean? Actually, it makes sense to me today that you have to pray and be thankful for what you are putting into your body so that you can turn it into a grateful, gratifying, you're gratifying the food that you're bringing into your body so that when it comes into your body, that it is a positive energy source that is in the body. And that goes with the drink, the water, everything that I'm putting in my body right now is really important. And I'm more conscientious of that than ever before. I'm even getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym by 5 so I can be like ready for work. That was very hard for me to discipline myself. I've been doing that for about 3 months now, and I'm starting to feel the difference. I've never been so in tune to my body before. You'd think having breast cancer and thinking I'm going to die and all of that would have changed me. It did not. And this is all new for me. And I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2010. And now it's like, 8 years later, I'm finally getting it. I'm a slow learner. So it's a daily process. And each day, and I'm going to use myself as an example, each day I wake up, I have to get myself into the mindset that I have to connect with my higher power. Some days it's harder than others. It's been a very long week. It's taken a lot for me on some days. I haven't felt it at all because I'm so tired physically. But once I'm able to connect and have that feeling, I can then put it into my thoughts. And then once I have my thought and my feeling that's connected, I am able to bring it out with my intentions. What are my intentions? I always have to be in tune to what they are. And that will bring forth what kind of reality I'm making for my day. And I'm making what I see in the day. So if I'm seeking for these higher realms, it's important that I have that in the forefront of my mind of what is it I'm really looking for and what is it I want. Do I really want to see what people are calling these aliens? There's still a lot of fear of what all that really means for us. I'm hearing a lot of those benevolent beings. I mean, that's another story. I don't understand all of that yet. But the benevolent ones, all of this is very confusing. So it's a process. It's something that we have to work on every day. And each day is going to be different. So what questions do you have in that?
First of all, I'd like to start with a statement. You are an example of someone who has a connection to communication from a higher realm, a different realm, multidimensional. And because you exhibit the kinds of challenges that many people do, it's clear that nobody gets a free pass.
Nope.
So while you've shared this information with people over the last several months, that I also heard that you're challenged on occasion to make sense of it.
This is all new to me. And as far as me being able to communicate with these higher realms, this is not something I was even seeking. This is something that came to me through a period in my life when I wanted to just die. I did not want to be here any longer. And as I started receiving this information, and I would be woken up in the middle of the night with, and this is something new that happened to me also, I needed to share as well. I had this man who had this long white hair with this piercing blue eyes who would wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning with this deep voice and tell me, "It's time to write, Lisa." And I'd get up out of the bed almost in like this walking, sleeping state and start writing all this stuff that I've published in these 2 books total. And recently I heard him again. And it had been a while since I heard his voice. And it's always when I'm walking my dog at night. So I'm walking my dog and I hear him again. And I'm like, "Who are you?" I never thought to ask who he was. And he came up with the name of, oh my God, why is he like slipping my mind of who he is? Because I looked him up and he's a real, apparently, he used to be Enoch. And he rose to heaven and God turned him into an angel. He's one of the archangels. And I don't know why it's not coming to my mind of who he is. But anyway, I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, I'm starting to get all this information of why the way we live and what we eat and what we do and what we think, all this stuff is so important. And and as you know, I come from a really dysfunctional background. So I have a lot of stuff I have to clean up. And you're talking about a girl who lived on the streets and foster care and all this stuff. So how am I going to be reaching principles that are expected to talk to these higher realms. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And that's why they're telling me they're using me as an example of what is possible. I don't even know what the possibilities are yet, but I question a lot. And I'm like saying, when they give me this information, there's no way I can do this. How can I not eat meat? But that's what's happening. I've started to acquire a taste for tofu. Anyway, but praying on my food, that makes sense to me today where it never did before, that everything that I consume, I need to ensure that it is positive energy forms. So I'm only sharing that because this is new for me as well.
How are you doing with maintaining the 3D version of you in a workday with this
Yeah,
expanded version of you? How is that going?
yeah, it's really hard some days to keep myself grounded. And I did a video on my YouTube channel called Living in Two Worlds. And I have one foot on the ground and one foot is in the higher realms. And I'm calling myself the bridge between both of those as I'm bringing that information into this world. And with each person that I'm encountering, I'm trying to view them as, what is it I'm supposed to learn from this experience? And what am I supposed to share with them? And what am I supposed to gain from this encounter? And, I deal with people who are dying, the death and dying, the addicts, the homeless. I deal with a lot of different types of people in a day. And with each encounter, I'm communicating with, okay, what level are they on, that I can articulate what messages I'm supposed to give them. And then in the intern of that, I'm trying to figure out what part of me is inside of them, because they're always a reflection of a part of me also. Even with the homeless man, I think I gave this as an example before. I connected with this homeless man on a soul level where we didn't even have to speak. And I was able to help him see through that connection of what it is he was supposed to do and why he was actually homeless. Every encounter is like that for me. But it's really hard some days because I don't feel it some days. And this body, let's face it, has been through it with radiation and chemo and all the other stuff that the world exposes me to. I call these experiences as being beaten into submission because there's like, I know I want to do it this way. And then I'll hear it in my head that, no, you're not supposed to do it that way. You're supposed to do it this way. And I'm like, I'm going to do it this way anyway. And of course, it always gets screwed up. And then I'm like, it takes me a few lessons to learn, like, oh, I was supposed to do it that way. Okay. So, I'm a hard learner. It takes me a little bit.
Lisa, I have a question. When you communicated with that homeless person related to his soul mission, for example, was this communication face-to-face and in a telepathic form, if you will? And was he acknowledging your statements to him?
We connected in the eyes. I always try to get patients to look at me eye to eye. And when they won't, then that tells me what level they're on also. And when they connect with me in the eyes, you can tell a lot about a person, and you connect with on the soul level through the eyes. It's the window to the soul. And literally, I was able to see the light connect through our eyes. And I think he saw it too, and it kind of like freaked him out. And he was like, oh my God, what's happening? It was pretty cool stuff. Yeah, and then it was unspoken when I saw that he got what I was trying to say. and he thanked me. I hope that one day he'll come back and I can actually see what happened with him.
And did you speak anything, words to him during
I
this
did.
process?
I was trying to explain to him that, we don't know why we go through some of the things we go through. I always try to look at everything as a lesson for my spiritual growth. And I've had periods where I've been homeless. So, what did I learn from that? And one of the biggies for me is to learn that it's not about all the illusions in the world, and that's full of what we are today. And that is actually what I call the dark entities that want to keep us in fear are doing with us. They're giving the illusions of the materialistic world. They're having us be preoccupied with all this stuff so that we don't look within ourselves to find out how great we really are and what we are capable of. And I try to remind myself of that, but I do that as well. I get preoccupied with the money and all the other stuff because that's the kind of world we're living in right now. But I try to keep reminding myself that these are the illusions. This is not what this is really about. There's a greater purpose in all of this. And all of this has greater meaning for me. And I have to continue to remind myself of that. So as we move forward in the next few years, there's going to be mind-blowing truths coming out about the other life forms that are out in the galaxy that are actually here, I'm being told. And that's something I never thought about either. Is there's other planets that there's life forms on, even in the third dimension that we're in, even the higher dimensionals. That there's life, and it's all combined into the past, the present, and the future are all now. It's all one. And that's very hard for me to comprehend, that the past can be actually occurring as I'm here today. But I find that when I go back into my memories of my childhood and I'm trying to heal some of the pain from my past, and I'm looking at myself from today, and I go back into who I used to be, I can actually be right there. And I feel like I'm there. It's almost like that butterfly effect, that the me today is talking to the little girl who's in pain. So who's to say that these higher entities that's coming to me are not me? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It's really mind-blowing if you think about it. That if and if you think about it, we all go back to the Godhead anyway. So all of it's really me.
As you talked about time, scientists have addressed time from a quantum perspective and used science as a basis for understanding it. The curious thing is that there's a whole segment of the population who have already accepted and adopted that as a truth without needing to have the scientific community verify it or corroborate it for us. Does that make any sense to you?
It does. And as I receive more of this knowledge and I try to go out and find some kind of answer to verify in the scientific community, it's always there. But it's something that I just know. And how do I even know it? That they're playing catch up. They're trying to study things that we already know inside, but we want verification of that because that's the kind of analytical mind that we have.
However, this culture that we reside in, this whole world, looks outside of ourselves for verification.
Mm-hmm.
It almost seems like we have it backwards.
We do have it backwards. And we are trying to, we're coming from a backwards perception as we are reaching when we're actually trying to come downward into this dimension. And that was the hard part for me, because I'm so analytical to understand that, well, wait a minute, oh, I'm looking upward for this information, when actually, if you think about it, I'm coming from the higher realms down into this reality for creation. And depending upon what my intentions are is what I'm going to be creating. It can be, there is no good and bad in any of it. Even when we see the person that killed those 11 people, what is that about? He, of course, they're defining as mentally ill. I'm sure there was a motivation behind all of that. And these, I have to say, I think it's these dark entities that are hard at work to keep us in fear and keep us under the illusions of what's really happening. And they don't want us to look inside of ourselves for the answers. They want us to look outside. So it's happening more and more. We're getting more of these shootings, more hatred, and that's the chaos of it all. And that is, there's something bigger at work here that is going to play out. That we're playing out what's happening in the higher realms. There's a war going on, and we are their puppets. I've said that before. And if our bodies are being used as the channel, and you've got people that are out there killing other people, who's in control of that? It's not that person. There's a higher entity at work resulting in all of those decisions. And then the ripple effect of that, the fear that puts everybody in it. You can't even go to your own place of worship without worrying about getting killed. They want you to stay home in fear. So,
And what is the benefit of keeping people in fear?
Because they are from a lower energy level, that they cannot survive on their own. They need our fear to feed off of it. They actually are attached to us, and we have physical ailments that they're there feeding off of our energy. They want us physically sick. They want us mentally distraught and full of suffering. And I've actually seen them with people working on people to keep them in suffering. They're attached to people, or they're there. I've said before, the dark shadows, the people who feed off of our energy. They can't feed off of the love. They don't want us to be all loving, because then we rise to a higher frequency level. When you're full of love, you feel like you can just float. You're walking on air. When you're full of fear, you're all heavy and curled up in a corner somewhere, full of fear, life. And the ultimate goal is to be able to reach that loving state and stay consistent with that frequency level. And it's like, I describe it as like the fish in the water. When he's jumping out of the water and he's looking out and he sees that there's a whole other world out there. He goes, oh my God, what is that? And then he jumps back down in the water where his reality is. And each time I rise above and look out there and see that there's a whole other reality out there, I am full of love in that frequency level, that I can rise above the illusions of what's happening here. And I'm being told it's in the gravity. That's a whole other concept for me that I'm trying to understand, that all of it lies within our gravity. If we can rise above the gravity, we will be able to see everything. How do you do that? I don't know. I'm sure more will be revealed. But for today, all I know is it is. The fear, the thoughts, everything that we're about is in the gravity level. Unless, and when we're fighting against gravity, that's a whole other thing, that, because we wouldn't age if we didn't have gravity. Think about that for a minute. I don't know. So that's another concept that I'm channeling, that I'm trying to comprehend right now. But rising above the fear is the challenge, because you see so much of it, and staying in a loving frequency. And the longer you can stay in that frequency level, and your intentions are to seek knowledge of the higher realms, they will come to you. People are saying, well, why does somebody so and so see UFOs and I can't see them? You know, you're on a different spiritual journey. What is it you're supposed to be seeing? What are you seeking for? And your answers will come. Seek and ye shall find. Absolutely. That will happen, because the more I seek, the more I'm finding, and I don't even know what half of this stuff means, but I'm determined to figure it out. When all of this started, it took me a good 5 years into this to be able to actually wake up and be about my day. I had to retrain my thoughts and my thinking. And that took, from the moment I woke up, all right, who is with me today? Am I thinking negatively, or am I thinking full of love? And whatever those thoughts were upon awakening, that was going to determine what kind of day I was going to have. So I want that to be a great day, or was I going to be full of negativity and hate the world? And that was my responsibility of what I was going to allow inside my thoughts. And depending upon that part of it was which type of spirit, you can call it, energy source, whatever you want to call it, is walked with me in that day. And when I became aware that I had like these entities that were with me, trying to coach me through the day to get me out of the fear, that was pretty cool. That I'd be in fear of someone, and they were telling me, keep that loving frequency level, keep full of love, because you're protected by love. How am I protected by love? What has love got to do with any of this? I have these arguments with myself about it. And it's all in the frequency and the energy levels that we're in. And I didn't understand any of that. I'm still trying to learn it as I go. But even down to the neutrons and the protons, and you can get really deep in this stuff. And they've had me looking in that stuff, and I'm like, this is too deep for me right now. I don't know what'll happen in the future, but for today, I can't go that deep, because there's a whole process in how it works that you can change what they call your timeline. You can, and I've noticed that as I accept the past for what it is, and I repeat over and over, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today, that I can stay in the moment and not worry about what's happened in the past. And that helps me create for what's going to happen to me tomorrow. So that helps me tremendously.
So that's a really good example in underscoring the fact that we are constantly creating, and we create with our thoughts, and our thoughts are occurring now. So with every now moment, we're creating more and more. And if our thoughts go back to the past and lament and anger and upset, then we're creating more of that, aren't we?
But it's really important to cleanse the past fear, because that will stay with us. There is a cleansing that we are doing right now. And that's why a lot of people are having a lot of fears coming up from the past. And that's important to take a look at. And I when I work with adolescents in the hospital who maybe attempted suicide or something, I use the cell phone as an example for them. There are times when you get so much information in your cell phone that you have to delete it out, you have to reset the cell phone, you have to clean out all the information that's in the cell phone. You have to do that with your brain too. You have to clean out all of the stuff that you don't need anymore. You have to do an inventory. You have to take a look at where you come from and why are you where you are today? How does that happen? It doesn't just happen overnight. I mean, especially if you're and a lot of the people who follow my stuff are in their 40s and 50s and 60s. So you've had enough experiences in life that you've got enough junk in there that you got to take a look at, and you got to do an inventory of it and take it out and look at it and see if you still want it or not. If it's and things that you used to be in life maybe don't work anymore. Maybe you got to get rid of that thought that I have to do it this way because. Why? Why do you believe the way you believe? There's a lot of questions that we need to have answers to, and nobody can give those to you but you. Nobody has your answers. Why do you believe that you're waiting for someone to come and save you? Why? Where does that come from? And that's what I was doing. And when I realized that I was responsible for myself, I wasn't the victim anymore, and I couldn't play the victim role anymore. I had to do it myself. There was nobody else going to do that for me.
If you were to say what the most important activity would be, in other words, what the most important exercise would that be it? In other words, cleaning out the closet, if you will?
If you're new to this, which most of the people who follow my stuff are new to it, and what does the spiritual realms really mean, that is the beginning. The cleaning out all the old belief systems and why we believe the way we believe, because it's not at all what I thought it was. And I can only speak for myself. And what I believed was because somebody else told me this is the way it was, and this is how I'm supposed to do things. What, just like down to praying on the food, I'd heard about it, never understood it. I had to know it for me. You don't just do something because somebody else tells you to do it. You have to implement it into your being and why you do it, and that goes into what your intentions are. Why do you do the things you do? And that's based upon what knowledge you have and what your intentions are in that process. So cleaning out all of the old beliefs is very important, so that when all of this new information comes inside, that you can be open to it and that you're not in fear of what it might mean. And all those dark shadows and entities that people are seeing, and the sleep paralysis that they have where these beings are on top of them, all of that, they're creating out of their own fears. And that it's coming out in physical form because the energy levels are so high on this planet. Everything we're thinking, we're creating. It's coming out in our reality because even our fears, that's the signals we're giving to the universe. So that's what's going to come back to us. So it's important to make sure you don't have those old fears inside anymore, so that you can learn a new way. And that may mean giving up a religion that your family has been a part of for centuries. And that's the hard one. Because we're so rigid in what the rules should be of what you believe, and going to hell. What is that? I'm sorry, I was living hell. I was already in hell. So there's nobody could tell me I was going to live in hell forever, because I was already there. Been there, done that. Need to try something new. That's where the desperation comes into play. I needed to be open and willing. I was sick and tired of the way I was living. And I needed to find a whole new way. And I had to be desperate enough to be open to something new. because my way was not working. And then I had to get rid of all that old stuff. None of it worked for me. And all I know at this point in my belief system is that we all go back to one. There is a Godhead where we all come from, and creation comes from that. And all of these entities that come to me, I pray for light, love, and healing, and I only want that in my life. That's all I choose. There's all kinds of other ones that have visited me many, many times and caused me suffering because I've allowed it. For today, I will only allow the benevolent beings in my life. And I see it in my world. My world is full of love today. My family is healing from all of the past. It's a good thing. But it's something I have to do. I can't wait for somebody else to do it for me.